I want to review with you a couple of things from yesterday. Hit a couple of parts that I missed a little bit yesterday and make them more meaningful, I hope. And then wrap up the last bit of notes. So what I have on the board right now, I believe, should help you with an understanding of three pretty significant deals from yesterday. Okay? One is an example. Okay? And the example is knowing Pittsburgh's transformation. That is one takeaway that I want from this screen. The second thing is the headline talks about, without using the word, but it talks about deindustrialization, right? What does it say in the beginning of the headline? Okay, so Pittsburgh moves from heavy industry. When the steel industry is not part of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is deindustrialized. Okay? Got it? You can link that with outsourcing. You can link that with the Rust Belt. It really links with a lot of the things we talked about yesterday. Okay? Shh. Then it says, moves from heavy industry to medicine. So it's got pharmaceutical companies making medicines. It's got tech industries going on, and it's working on energy stuff. And not production of industry, but improving energy usages, new energy technologies and things like that. So we go, this showing us deindustrialization, Rust Belt, all of those around this showing us post-industrialization. And there's even another link to our conversation yesterday when it talks about the move in the colleges around to the ending EDU. So the online recognition of the college research quinary industry advancements of Pittsburgh. So quinary is mentioned there as it highlights the idea of .edu. Talks specifically about Carnegie Mellon University. Anyone know where the name Carnegie comes from?
All I know is in one of the, I think it's Mean Girls. She goes to Carnegie. Mean Girls 2.
I feel like it's a bird.
Pardon?
Is that a bird?
Mean Girls 2.
A bird?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a bird, but I know that when you take American history next year,
Not taking.
you will learn. You're taking American history next year, Riles. You might not be taking A push, but you are taking American
Not
history.
taking A.
You will learn. You will learn that that America's early wealthy folks were like 4 families or 5 families. Why can I not remember the name of the family that made it rich in oil? I had it in my head 30 seconds ago. Shoot. They were the wealthiest. The second wealthiest American was Andrew Carnegie. It's actually pronounced Carnegie. He's an Irish immigrant, and he made his money in the steel industry. That's Rockefeller. Rockefeller's the oil dude. The oil baron is Rockefeller. The steel dude is Carnegie. And one of the banker dude was Vanderbilt was into tires and things like that. The banking family was, but then the railroad family of great wealth. You Minnesotans should know this, because some of you have toured his mansion. James J. Hill was kind of like the 5th kind of wealthy dude. So Carnegie is all related to steel, yet the institution named after him is now researching how life should be post-steel in Pittsburgh. So questions about how that reviews and connects us with yesterday? So
Boston was a post-industrial city, right?
okay, I have that connects later.
Okay.
I'm going to show you that, and I hope it'll fit later if you don't mind us waiting to come to that.
That's fine.
Is that okay? So I've got another link to that. Just to make sure that I hit this okay yesterday, I'm going to scroll through these slides with you. There's a thing or two I'm going to ask you if we talked about so that it makes some sense. So yesterday we started with deindustrialization. So we talked about what it is, the loss of industry. I looked up a definition because I was feeling like I didn't give you a very good definition, and it said the loss of industry. I mean, so it was exactly what we talked about. We know what's happening in the core. It's pointing them to doing high-tech, binary, and so on. We talked about outsourcing. I think we're okay on this slide. Any questions about the NICs or the BRICS or the emerging industrial regions of the world? Guangdong, Shenzhen, Hong Kong as China's special economic zone. There are probably 4 or 5 questions from this slide on your upcoming test. Do you have questions?
So all those bullets below NICs are NICs?
Yes. Well, Guangdong is technically not a country because it's a region of China.
Okay.
But yeah, they're all within the realm of newly industrialized. And NICS stands for country. But yes, the BRICS are and the 4 are. Other questions on this? Are we okay with ubiquitous as a term and Nike as a ubiquitous corporation?
Means it's everywhere.
Apple, okay. This one I want to make sure that I touched on. With global division of labor, it gives meaning to the idea of what we've been talking about with manufacturing jobs being exported and quaternary or quinary jobs staying here. But I really surfaced through women in this conversation. It could very well be on your AP test that they will ask you about women in the workforce in our modern era. And I think it's important that you need to understand that women are being employed more and more in transnational, multinational corporations. In the maquiladoras of Mexico, women are commonly working. In the factories and sweatshops that the Nike has, women are commonly working. Okay? So women are being drawn out of the home and into the workforce in our multinational corporations. Questions? Lastly, did we talk at all about how Mexico's wages are hurting our middle class? Well enough that you get it? That our auto industry's wages have come down? All of our union wage jobs are coming down? Yes? Okay. Do you get why that is true? Let me just revisit this one more time. In the 80s, you could make $30, $40 an hour in an automobile union job. Okay? You can't today. You make less today than you did in the 80s in the auto industry. There's a really cool movie if you're interested in board called Roger and Me. I will warn you in advance that a woman who has lost her job raises rabbits and eats them for dinner. So they show her skinning a rabbit. So if that makes you uncomfortable, skip the scene. However, the power behind the story is Michael Moore, who's become quite a bit crazy. So if you have a political agenda, you might not like Michael Moore, but in 1979 he was pretty mellow. But Ford Company, this chief executive officer of Ford Company was Roger Smith. And he decided that to save money for Ford, he was going to move plants to Mexico. Okay? And in moving plants to Mexico, what happened in Detroit is automobile factories closed. With the closing of factories, people got or became unemployed. When they were unemployed, the union had a choice to keep pushing for the high wages that compensated those workers very well, or to negotiate lesser wages to compete better with Mexicans. So Detroit really had a choice. Push for that livable wage that makes us a great city, or compete with Mexicans and not lose all of our jobs. Because if they kept pushing wages, no one would have made cars in Detroit. In fact, many of the automobiles are now made in Alabama, now made in Arkansas, where unions aren't as strong and wages are lower. So American automobiles aren't Detroit anymore. They're the South. St. Louis, because cheaper labor, because the unions are weaker. And so what's happened is our $40 an hour jobs have become $25 an hour jobs. Or $25 an hour jobs have become $18 an hour jobs. And our wages that drove the middle class to prosperity are shrinking. And our middle class is getting poorer. That makes sense. Yes? That is the reality within this new global division of labor. Is that you graduate from high school and it's tough to walk into a $30 an hour job anymore. Okay? Questions? Okay, so then we are on question 5 of the worksheet. What is going on in the service industry world?
That's why I need like roll them and not cram side to side, it's just true. And I really need to get the 300 times. Science testing.
All right, ready? So, for some of you, the annoyance of repetitive terms or multiplicity of terms in AP Geo is a challenge. Like, why do we have so many names for different things? This is one of them. The service industry, as opposed to not the manufacturing industry, is tertiary and quaternary jobs. So it's described right in here, providing services such as transportation, banking, retailing, education, and office-based jobs. Why does this matter? In the structure of that global division of labor conversation, and the structure of outsourcing of work, and the structure of competing against other folks, okay? We live in a situation where, quite frankly, a lot of even these jobs will be movable. Okay? A lot of even these jobs will be movable. Are you aware that you can go to an online clinic? And there will be a nurse sitting at the other end who asks you some questions and then says, okay, you can get this prescription and you can do that without even seeing a doctor. So we could very easily start seeing doctors in other countries. It might be very possible that someday the computer you sit at will have a blood pressure cuff and a stethoscope right in it. You pay the extra $100 to upgrade your computer and you never go to the doctor. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but it's possible, is it not? You guys see where technology is going. So what does that mean in this conversation? If I go to the next slide, the truth of the matter is our information technology is changing how the service sector of our world is located. How many of you do a significant amount of your retail shopping online and never see someone? Okay. Do you recognize the likelihood of that being more and more true in your future? My sister-in-law, I think, did all of her Christmas shopping in like 25 minutes on what is not Black Friday, but what's the day when everybody shops?
Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday. She just like boom, 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 had her list, checked them all off, done, never left her living room.
Really?
Okay?
What? It's like Cyber Monday?
It's like,
It's when you do all,
it's never
when
heard
all
of
of
it.
the
Monday after
online
Black Friday,
sales are on.
everything, yeah.
Okay? So, I don't know that this is a hugely important part of the conversation. This is. Most service industries, because we know to manufacture stuff, it usually has to be located near a resource. It's just cheaper to. Service industries aren't resource tied, so they can locate in lots of places. This is a common understanding you need to have, but we need to talk about how this is changing. It's tough to get a hamburger from McDonald's without going to McDonald's.
Unless someone brings it to you.
Correct. But the point is, a lot of service industries are at the point of exchange and encounter. They're at the market, and that's a non-changeable factor. If we get to the point where our computers are making hamburgers for us, I'm going to be a little bit nervous. Okay?
How do you lose a chance of meatballs?
Is that what happens?
Well,
Stuff falls from the
sky.
sky.
Cloudy food rain from the sky.
What are you doing?
Okay. So the reality is, technology is making it easier for us to outsource a lot of stuff. Okay? But within the service industry, a large part of it is still really, really tied to someone I can give money to. Okay? Questions? So that, folks, is question 5 on the worksheet.
I just got the definition, the other part.
Okay? That's question 5 on the worksheet. All right. Any questions? Okay, so that will lead us into our next conversation today, which is really energy and the environment. I do not know what the AP board is going to ask us about energy. We're going to have a brief conversation about it. Who produces it? What happens when we produce it? Can we sustainably use it as we are? Yes, Tia.
Oh, do
What was I saying?
Who's sustained?
Yeah, I don't know what I said, but is our natural resources, the way we use them, sustainable? Can we continue this into the future? Oh, I'm sorry.
Like what you said about the McDonald's thing, like you know how in New York and Grand Central Station they have that huge like market?
Yeah.
Will that ever go away then?
No,
Okay.
no. A lot of the market stuff is just the way business needs to happen. We will always be out, we will always be moving, we will always be engaged with stores. But a lot of the stuff that we used to do commonly marketplace because of technology. I mean, seriously, we can go to an online clinic. This is entirely a possibility. In 20 years, well, in 25 years, it is quite possible that your children will sit at their desk and do school and never leave their bedroom.
They're gonna be obese.
But yeah, it's gonna be like in Wall.
I would never leave my room ever.
But, I mean, if you think about it,
Forget on.
I could create, this could be my life's ambition, I could create an online school,
Should.
I could move to India, and I
These are all
could
gonna be
train
socially awkward.
40 teachers. I could market my school, and your mom could find the marketing of it and say, here. And you could be in a global classroom, where you interface with all 18 of you from 18 different countries,
Yeah, I don't like that.
all in one screen where you have 18 different images going at the same time. Our technology is leading us to that possibility, yes?
Let me have
Would y'all speak
high
that
schools,
language?
like, I know, we never have any,
I'm not telling you it will happen,
that'd be terrible.
but I'm telling you some of that is happening now.
Yeah, but then again, you're getting up at like 6 in the morning.
Do you know that Elk River is, next year will be offering some online classes? Do you know why? It has nothing to do with us thinking it's better for kids, but we have to keep students from going to online schools in other districts or we lose money. Every kid that doesn't go to our school, we lose money. So if we provide good online education, instead of having them take it through the University of Phoenix, they'll take it to Elk River High School. They can come in and meet with the teacher once or twice a week. Yes?
There's a guy on my soccer team who is from Zimmerman, and he does every single one of his classes online. So he doesn't go to school. He said he likes it. I don't think I've read it.
So,
How could you
so bad.
You just sit at home.
all
I
right.
already have like no.
That is not where this conversation should be going, but I want to point you to how the service industry is being restructured because of technological advancements. Okay, so now let's talk about energy. Couple of things to know about energy.
Were you actually?
Don't memorize any statistic. Don't worry about ranks of these things. Understand the big picture of it. Most of the world's oil we know lies where? Middle East, right? Okay. This graph is not about oil ownership. This is about oil production. If you Google this, it will not look the same today. In fact, I would like somebody to Google top world oil producers 2014. You got it, T? So just change that to 2014. You guys know that our gas prices have come down, yes? Do you want to know the big picture of why? Well, we can say North Dakota, which is part of the truth in the equation. It is not the only truth in the equation. The United States is no longer producing 8.69 million barrels a day. It is producing more. The United States has pursued a philosophy in the past of possessing oil, but leaving it in the ground and buying oil from other countries, with the theory that when oil is coming out of someone else's ground and we are using it, we are saving our oil for the rainy day, which is coming. I mean, I hate to break it to you, you are going to run out of oil. It's impossible not to. Do you understand that reality? What does it say? Russia is 1 today. Actually, it says that we're producing 8.1 million per day. It says Russia's producing 10.1. So a little bit of a flopping. Anybody else have a different statistic? Anybody find that shows us something else? Did you get the oil?
Yeah.
What does yours say? You found the exact same one.
Is
Okay.
it the same one?
Exact same one. So what is happening, okay, is that with the U.S. deciding to draw more of its oil from the ground, Saudi Arabia and the other countries are having to lower their prices to get us to buy it. That makes sense. So as we say we're buying less of your oil, they say, okay, we're going to charge less and less so that you buy it. So they're trying to make it cheaper for us to buy their oil than for us to produce it. So it's kind of a short-term win situation for us because our gas prices are a lot cheaper. True?
Plus, we're gonna save our oil.
If they do keep driving prices down and keep consuming foreign oil, our oil will be preserved. Yes. Yes.
But when I was driving down to Texas, the gas prices kept getting lower and lower until it was $2.
And I think some of that has to do with northern states kind of pointing to gas taxes and Texas pointing to let's use oil because then we all get rich. Because Texas is a big oil state. But let me talk to you about some truths in this. If I were president, I would fix gas prices at $6 a gallon with the hopes that Americans would move closer to work and not drive
Or bike to work.
or bike to work, okay? Point being, we can do a lot of things to make gas today cheaper. In doing so, we are not pointing to a sustainable usage pattern. Does that make sense? If you look at the commuter process and mentality of Americans, it's designed, not with the purpose of, but it's designed with the result of making you use gasoline. If you go to Dallas, it is the most spread out city I've been in. You have to drive miles a day. It's just crazily planned. Minneapolis at least has some form of condensedness to it. Dallas does not. So the reality is, I want you to write down the name OPEC, O-P-E-C, in all caps. Okay? And then OPEC, you should know, stands for Organization of petroleum exporting countries, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Are you aware that petroleum is oil? Yes? Okay. So Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Okay. Any questions about that? OPEC is this. It's all of the Middle Eastern oil countries. And there are 3 non-Middle Eastern countries that are part of OPEC. I don't think you need to memorize them, but I will tell you the other 3 are Venezuela, Argentina, Nigeria, and I'm uncertain, but maybe Indonesia. Don't memorize those. Okay, but what does that mean? This is what OPEC did. It's called the cartel. In the 70s, Saudi Arabia and Iraq got sick of competing against each other. So they formed a group of countries and said, we're going to charge this much for oil, and you're going to have to buy it. So it's kind of like a monopoly, but because it's countries, because it's not an organization of businesses, it's technically called a cartel. So in 1978, you could buy gas for like 59 cents. In 1979, it was like $1.40. So like tripled in 1 year because of OPEC. So know what OPEC is, understand that it sets prices. But then in terms of who has oil, if you know the United States has a pretty good amount, if you know Russia, and if you know the Middle East, you're really in pretty good shape for what I think you should know. This graph depicts a different thing. The other one shows you production of oil. This one shows you something called oil reserves. So when we talk about oil underground, how does the United States look? Make you a little nervous? Okay, if we decide we're going to continue to produce at this level, okay, this supply is not going to last as long as we might need it to. This was done, you don't see a year on this, but this was probably done prior to North Dakota, and it's a substantial well. So we might have gotten a little bit bigger. Okay?
So we just didn't know that there was oil in North Dakota?
Correct. And that's one of the reasons that there's not a huge fear of running out. Because people keep saying, oh, well, we'll just find more. But you do realize that there is, at some point, a no longer find more, right? It's finite. Right? What? That's a math term. It is not infinite. Right? Okay. I don't think you need to know anything about natural gas, but this is a map telling you that Russia's really got a lot of natural gas. The Middle East has natural gas. The United States does pretty well with natural gas. Have a pretty significant supply of it. This is the one of greater significance. Are you ready for this one? This is a map of energy usage. I want to tell you something. This is not a per capita energy usage map. This is a total energy usage map. The United States makes up 1/20th of the world's people, and it consumes almost 1/4 of the world's energy usage. Pardon?
Canada looks pretty big at that too.
Canada, especially with as small as its population is, uses a lot of oil. Okay? China is number 2. I believe India is 3, Japan 4, and Russia 5. The United States percentage 10 years ago was 25. It is smaller. That's the good news. The bad news is it's not because we're using less energy, it's because other countries are using more. So the percentage of what we are using is smaller, yes.
Well, I remember at one point when I was like watching Disney Channel and they were like, they were telling you to like, oh, remember to turn off the light switch, save energy, it's good for whatever.
Right.
Like, I think that was like part of
Those
it.
were like the stay green ones.
For sure.
Yeah.
Disney, it was a great
365.
commercial. And then they went into the organics in the backyard, and then they prevented us to turn off faucets.
Yeah. Turn off the water while you brush your teeth.
Who does that? How many of you brush your teeth with the water running?
No? People do that?
And get it wet
Yes,
and
I
then
do
turn it
all
off.
the time.
What?
That's my sister does.
Okay. So,
Is this only for oil usage or all energy?
this is energy. This is not oil. This is energy. Okay.
I'm always packed.
All right. So the question is it sustainable? And this is not something that will be on your AP test because it is not something that politicians agree on. It's not something that the world says, hey, here's where we're gonna be. This is all guesstimate stuff. And they just don't get into hypotheses and guesses like that. They want more concrete stuff.
When did they release out the oil?
There's tons of guesses, but nobody knows. I watched a documentary a year and a half ago that said we had about 30 years left at our current usage rate of oil. Are they right? Who knows?
I know, I'm wearing.
But think about that reality. If we've got 30 years of oil left, if I had $17 million and I was an investor, I would buy urban real estate because I have to think that as gas prices climb upward, people are going to move back to the city. You know what I mean? I would think that the demand for land in and near cities is going to get higher and higher and higher. That's what makes sense to me. All right. We do have some environmental issues to tackle. We're going to tackle global warming, acid rain, and ozone depletion. Okay? I'm going to first tell you that I'm teaching you this not because it will be on the test, because I do not believe the AP board will ask you about global warming, because there are people in our political world who say that it is true, and there are people in our political world who say that it is not true. Okay? But what is the idea of global warming? I'm going to tell you a global warming fact. The temperature of our Earth changes over periods of time. Okay? Make sense? The temperature of our Earth is continually getting warmer and or colder. About 8,000 BC, when Europe became agriculturally productive, it was because it got warmer. So our Earth is most likely, the science is inconclusive because the temperature varies so much, but the science most likely is pointing us to a truth of the Earth getting warmer. Average temperatures are just on the rise in the data. But that could be, short periods of data. It isn't necessarily true. Okay? What is really debated is whether or not humans are accelerating.
Yes.
Does burning energy create a layer of carbon dioxide around the Earth that warms the planet as the sun shines through the carbon dioxide, just like a greenhouse, warms the surface of the Earth radiates heat, and it gets trapped. As you know from watching news and science and everything else, there are lots of folks who say that that is not a theory, it is a fact. And there are lots of folks who say that it is a theory. Okay? Because there isn't consensus on it, I believe it won't be on your AP test. But I believe you, as global citizens, should be thinking about it, investigating it, and making good conclusions about it. If it is true, it might be the most important issue you vote on. Might not be taxes, might not be gay marriage or abortion, might not be investing in public education. The most important issue, if what scientists say is true, might be on figuring out how to use less carbon dioxide, or create less carbon dioxide, so that we don't raise ocean levels by feet. So you should pursue that as an educated voter. And if you conclude that it's not a big deal or that it's not our fault, vote that way. If you conclude that it is a big deal and it is our fault and it needs to be fixed, vote that way. But don't assume the people who want your vote are telling you the truth. Does that make sense? Because they probably have agendas and not just your interests in mind. But that is the issue. There's lots of evidence of a warming planet. There's lots of evidence of a warming planet. CNN the other day, how long ago, Riley?
Oh, about a week.
Yeah, had a story about an ice chunk breaking off. Did I share with you yesterday that could raise ocean levels 11 inches? Pretty substantial. If the story is true about that.
Excuse me, why don't we watch CNN Student News? I love CNN Student News.
I don't know, Ross. Okay.
How much water does it take to?
One day Vandenberg Middle School is going to
Gail, that's a
get the
really
shout
good
out.
question because
One
this is
day.
what I don't get. Most of this thing that breaks off is already under the
I need
surface of
another
the
like
water.
ad.
Yes.
What should I
The
do?
ice,
I'm making
so
my
how does
own
melting it
snapper, and she said, "Making your
bring it up when a lot of it's already underwater? So the projections they have in this make no sense to me.
Ice expands when it
Yeah.
freezes, water expands when it freezes.
Are we-
90% water and 10% air.
So I don't know. Rach?
I'm just throwing out numbers.
I know that's
It depends on like the size of the molecules. Like water.
Okay. You like my global warming pictures?
Oh, look at the panda!
Oh, that's
That's
sad.
not a panda.
Big panda!
Oh my god.
I hate myself! I meant polar bear when it just came out panda.
Welcome to my world, Riley.
Oh.
Okay.
That's so sad.
You guys see the panda?
All right.
Did they say that?
When you hit your side.
What?
Now David's like an idiot.
It can swim.
Shaking my
Yeah, but a lot